Hi, Teri here from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is this pretty card. I've used the Forever Blossoms stamp set for the images, the Magnolia Blooms for the sentiment, and I've also used some of our Parisian Blossoms designer series paper, and it's a shaker card. So let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for all the elements required to create this project. So if you are interested in reproducing it, you can take a screenshot and refer to it later. This is the Magnolia Blooms stamp set, and I'm going to use the Happy Birthday sentiment this time. I'm going to place the case under my plate to make it easier to ink up my stamp. I'm stamping on some normal weight Whisper White card, and because I'm going to emboss, I'm prepping it with my embossing buddy. I'll be stamping the sentiment in Petal Pink ink, so I'm going to position my stamp where I want it on my card. Then I can pick it up with my plate, ink it up and stamp. And I'm going to stamp it twice so I get a darker impression. I've cleaned off my stamp and I'm now going to ink it up with Versamark ink. And again, I'm going to stamp this twice to make sure I get good coverage. Then I can cover with clear embossing powder. I'll then melt the powder with my heat tool. This is the Forever Blossom stamp set, and I'm using the single flower, the single leaf and the double leaf. I'm going to stamp my flowers using grey granite ink, and my leaves will be in Pear Pizzazz. I need 4 flowers, 2 of the double leaves and 2 of the singles. I'm going to colour the flowers using the Stampin' Blends alcohol markers, and I'm just starting with the light petal pink and covering most of the petals with this. I'm leaving the edges white, and then I'll switch to the dark petal pink and I'll just add this around the centre of each flower. I'm using one of the Stitched So Sweetly dies to die cut my sentiment, and this is one size up from the smallest. Then I'm using the Cherry Blossom dies to die cut my other elements. The single leaf, you've actually got 2 dies for this, so that's quite useful. For the front of the card, I have some of the Parisian Blossoms designer series paper. Now, because this will be raised up on the card, I'm going to strengthen it using a mat of normal weight Whisper White card, and this is in exactly the same size. And I'm just going to glue these 2 together and then put them to one side to dry before I continue. I'm now going to make the heart frame for the front of the card, and I've got a scrap piece of Petal Pink cardstock for this. I'm using the plain heart punch from the heart punch pack, and I'm just going to punch it out of the sort of centre of this scrap piece. Then I can take the scalloped heart punch from the same punch pack, and I can position this around the first one I punched out, making sure the edges are even, and then just punch it to create my frame. I'm also going to punch this again from another piece of Petal Pink card, and this will be used for the inside of my card. Once the front panel is dry, you can punch out the heart towards the bottom right. Now I'm lining up the right hand edge of the punch with the right hand side of my panel, but because of the pattern on this, I've just adjusted it slightly so the pattern runs through the centre point of the punch. Then I can punch it out, and the heart I punched out will be used on the inside of the card. I have a small piece of acetate here that is just large enough to cover the heart aperture, and I'm going to use some red line adhesive and place this all around the edges of it, then remove the backing. Any strong tape adhesive would be okay for this. Mine measures 1/8 of an inch wide. This can then be positioned onto the reverse of the front panel to cover the heart aperture. I have a smaller piece of the Parisian Blossoms Designer Series paper here, and this is for the back of my shaker. And I'm just going to mark on the reverse which way up it needs to go. Because the design is writing, I don't want to get it upside down. I'm now going to use some of our foam strips to create a well around the heart aperture, and this is where I'll add my shaker elements. Make sure that you don't leave any gaps in the foam. You want to butt the edges up against each other, that way none of the shaker elements will be able to work their way out. Then I can remove the backing from the adhesive. I'm using sequins for my shaker elements, and these are actually by Nouveau. They're called Champagne Shine and they match our champagne foil perfectly. I can now cover the well using that small piece of Parisian Blossoms Designer Series paper, making sure I've got it the right way up. Then before I press it down firmly, I'm just going to make sure the writing's level, and then I can give it a good press. I'm now going to use more foam strips all over the back of this panel to level things up. Now for all the sides I'm using complete strips. What you don't want to do is use little pieces on the side edges because this doesn't look good on the finished card. Inside, once you've done the edges, when you do the inside area, you can use whatever you've got. It doesn't matter, you can use up all your little bits. My card base is in Petal Pink, and this is half your standard sheet of card, scored in the middle and folded to create a portrait card. Then I have a panel of champagne foil and then the front panel of my card. For inside the card I have a Whisper White panel. To finish off the flowers, I'm going to add one of our champagne rhinestones to the centre of each. And then I can add the heart frame around the heart aperture on the front of my card. And that's it, my card is now complete. And here's another look at my original card. I just reversed the colours between these two cards. So on the first card, my flowers were in Pool Party. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.